sitting amongst you all, standing amongst you all, it feels more necessary than any year before just to see people who agree that war isn't the way to solve our problems. It's been a brutalizing year, hasn't it? To so regularly see these images and stories of civilians and military people suffering, being wounded, being killed. It's been hard. It's felt very alone at times to be someone who disagrees with the idea that violence is the way to resolve conflicts, and particularly that conflicts between adults should have anything to do with children. I've not known what to say or what to do. Maybe some of you have shared that feeling with me this year. There's been an enormous feeling of powerlessness. And I wrote this letter to the newspapers and sent it on Friday. I don't know that it will be published, but I'd like to read it to you today. When people recognize me in the street these days, I have a little game, which is I try to guess who it is they are recognizing. Often they don't know my actual name, just the name of a not-so-big friendly giant, a Savile Row cutter, an avatar from Ready Player One, or the Soviet spy, or accused spy, Rudolf Abel. And they know much more about those characters I play than they do about me, as we actors are generously granted the personalities and characteristics of people we only pretend to be. Of all the characters I have played, I wish I had Thomas Cromwell's mind, at least as Hilary Mantel perceived it in Wolf Hall, particularly when I feel overwhelmed, as I often do these days, by the world's troubles. Cromwell was so good when times were bad. What would Lord Cromwell advise, I ask myself, in our present situation as a nation? And who would he advise? Our King Charles no longer governs in the way of Cromwell's boss, Henry VIII. Though it may not feel like it, we the people now govern ourselves through elected representatives. So what would Cromwell, the first common man to counsel kings, say to us, the common people, now? Well, I think first he would carefully consider who we are and what, if anything, we have in common with each other. What fundamental beliefs do we share? For me, the first cornerstone that comes to mind, with which Cromwell would surely agree, is that children should not be harmed by adults. It's not right, anywhere, in our families, our schools, our places of faith, our workplaces, in the street, even in prison. A prisoner who has harmed children often requires isolation to avoid retribution and justice from other inmates. The English people do not approve of the harming of children by adults. So here is my question. Why do we approve of it in our international relationships? Not only approve, we encourage it, if the cause is considered just. I feel certain you are as challenged as I am by the daily news of children suffering and dying because of adult conflicts. Am I fair to imagine Thomas Cromwell asking us, no child is responsible for conflict between adults? Are they? If there was an armed conflict in your neighbor's house or in any of these buildings around us right now, and children were involved, Would our police force charge in without regard to the lives of the children? No. The children would be their primary concern, as we would all expect. My Lord Cromwell, you regularly advise King Henry VIII to avoid war, but what can we do about it? Statistics recently released show that 2025 is already the most violent year globally, thank you Apache, the most violent year globally since the end of the Second World War. And such violence is up 65% on last year. Like it or not, and I don't, we're all involved. 7% of the tax we pay each year goes towards military spending. We arm other nations as well as ourselves. We train soldiers. We make fighter jets, artillery shells, and mortar bombs. And to make matters worse, the targets and victims of this military onslaught have changed. In the early 20th century, roughly 90% of casualties in war were professional soldiers. Now 90% are civilian, including children. So my shrewd and sage Thomas Cromwell, how can we express our outrage? I think he would tell us, remind us, that in 1916 the English people were the first on the planet to be granted by their government the right of conscientious objection to the killing of people in war. And we stand here today in the spirit of those brave conscientious objectors, remembered in this beautiful dark stone here. Do we not still have that right? And should it not apply to the 7% tax we pay to aid and abet the murder of innocent children? Should we not withhold that tax if our government refuses to extend our collective abhorrence of harming children? Could it not be redirected towards the care and support of our veterans? I don't believe one of them joined our armed forces to advance the slaughter of children. Quite the contrary, they risked their lives to prevent it. Some of the trauma that we've all experienced this year watching the television news must be much more intense for them than our civilian trauma, and is caused by this, by the things that they had to take part in. I truly believe Thomas Cromwell's advice to me would be, demand your citizens' right to conscientious objection and give your defense tax to the veterans. As I watch so many British citizens of conscience being arrested for protesting, I wonder if Thomas Cromwell would thus be charged with incitement to break the law. And I wonder also how many of us it would take for the government to grant us our right of conscientious objection to the murder of children anywhere in the world. How many of us saying we won't pay that tax would it take? There's been a lot of criticism about the wearing of the white poppy in the Telegraph, aimed at me apparently. I don't read these newspapers. But my Irish friend said, if they're digging into the white poppy, it'd be interesting to dig into the red poppy and its purported support for veterans. Do we do enough for our veterans? I don't think so. So I'll leave you with this quotation. The people can always be brought to the bidding of the leaders. That is easy. All you have to do is tell them that they're being attacked and denounce the pacifists for lack of patriotism and exposing the country to danger. It works the same way in every country. Who said that? Hermann Goering. If you wish to discover more about Taxes for Peace, go to conscienceonline.org.uk. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak today and for this ongoing movement for peace. Thank you.